Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're taking a deep dive into something we all do every day, learning.
Yeah. How we learn.
We've got this cool conversation, between a person and an AI,
Mm.
and they actually compare understanding information to a treasure hunt.
It's really fascinating. It's not just about, finding the treasure.
Right.
It's about, well, how we make sense of it all.
Yeah,
Like building a map from all the clues we find.
exactly. And that's exactly what we'll be, unpacking today.
Uh-huh.
How our brains, take those little bits of information and actually turn them into, real knowledge.
Right, right.
Now, the AI, starts off with some pretty basic advice.
Yeah.
We'll take notes,
Yeah.
actively engage thing.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
But what's interesting is how the person pushes the AI to like go deeper.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
They bring up this idea of watching a TV series,
Okay.
but like out of order. We've all been there. Like it's almost impossible to follow, right?
Absolutely. You can't follow the plot,
Oh.
let alone like understand each character.
Exactly. It's
not-
just a mess.
And that's their point, right? Understanding isn't just about passively absorbing information.
Yeah.
Like a sponge, right?
No, it's not passive at all.
It's about actively constructing the meaning,
Mm-hmm.
connecting those dots, building those relationships between ideas.
Leaving those connections. That's key.
And that's where our existing knowledge base comes in.
Yeah.
So the AI uses this analogy of a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
Each piece represents a bit of knowledge. Right?
Sure. And the more pieces we have,
The more we have.
the easier it is to see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Connect those new pieces of information.
So if we're like missing some of those foundational pieces,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be harder to grasp new concepts.
It is. It's like, well, this source gives this great example. Trying to learn a new language.
But without, understanding basic grammar.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Like trying to build a house.
Uh-huh.
Without a solid foundation.
Right.
You might, get something up.
Right.
But it's going to be shaky.
Shaky at best.
At best, yeah.
So building this solid foundation of knowledge, it's like setting ourselves up for success then.
Yeah.
In learning new things.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to that treasure hunt analogy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Having a good, base of knowledge
Yeah.
allows us to like recognize valuable treasure.
Right.
When we find it, we're better equipped to understand its significance,
Yeah.
how it fits in.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So as we gather more knowledge, we're essentially expanding our map then.
We are.
Creating more connections, uncovering, new paths to explore.
Exactly. And, the AI makes this this fascinating point about how this whole process, it's cyclical.
Okay.
Learning something new, like sparks more questions,
Uh-huh.
which then, leads to further exploration,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
discovery.
So it's like each answer unlocks a new set of questions,
It does.
pushing us, further down
Down the rabbit hole.
rabbit hole of knowledge.
Exactly.
Love that.
And, the source highlights how this this ongoing process,
Yeah.
it can lead to some, unexpected insights.
Right.
We might, start digging in one area
Mm-hmm.
and uncover something completely like unrelated,
Oh, wow.
but equally fascinating,
Yeah,
like
weird.
stumbling upon a, hidden passageway
Oh, cool.
while exploring a familiar cave.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So even when we think we have a good grasp of something,
Mm-hmm.
there's always more, to,
Always more to discover, more connections to make. Absolutely.
Right.
That's what makes learning so exciting.
Yeah.
It's not about reaching that final destination.
Oh, okay.
It's about embracing the journey,
I love that.
being open to those unexpected detours
Yeah.
and discoveries along the way.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about building this foundation
Yeah.
and how that helps us navigate new information.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we encounter something
Yeah.
completely unfamiliar? Like, how do we even...
Right. How do we even begin to make sense of it?
Yeah, how do we wrap our heads around it?
Well, that's where the AI's comparison of understanding
Yeah.
to a map becomes really intriguing.
Interesting.
Think about it. maps and our understanding of the world.
Okay.
They're both representations,
Okay.
tools we use
Uh-huh.
to navigate these complex terrains.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
I'm starting to see the connection here.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool.
But just like a map,
Yeah.
our understanding,
Yeah.
it isn't always complete.
Right.
We might have gaps in our knowledge.
Exactly.
Or even misconceptions.
And the source highlights how we often use,
yeah.
deduction,
Uh-huh.
guesswork,
To fill in those gaps.
to fill in those gaps, much like an explorer
Right.
navigating uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We piece together the clues we have,
Mm-hmm.
make educated guesses, right?
Right.
And test those guesses against new information.
Oh, okay. So even with like those imperfections,
Yeah.
both maps and our understanding, they can still...
They can still lead us to, new and exciting destination.
Yeah. Places some pretty cool places.
Absolutely. In fact, those imperfections,
Yeah.
they can sometimes lead to the most unexpected discoveries.
Oh, wow.
Think about how scientists, they often make, groundbreaking findings. Right.
By questioning existing knowledge,
Mm.
venturing beyond those well-trodden paths.
It's like they're deliberately choosing to explore
They are.
those uncharted areas on the map,
Yeah.
knowing that there's,
Potential.
potential for something like truly remarkable.
Exactly. It's about, pushing the boundaries
Okay.
of what we know,
Yeah.
constantly refining our maps
Right.
as we gather more information.
So it's a constant process.
It is.
And this brings up another interesting point from the source.
Okay, yeah.
This idea that sometimes
Yeah.
we have more information
Okay.
than we need
All right.
at any given moment.
Like we have this, it's like having a map
Okay.
with all sorts of like intricate details,
Mm,
but you only need a small portion of it
right.
for your current journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't mean the extra information is useless.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's just that, we might not need to access it all right now.
You don't need it right now.
What's fascinating here, though, is that this connects to the concept of schema
Schema.
in learning,
Interesting.
which, essentially refers to those mental frameworks
Mm-hmm.
we use
Yeah.
to organize and interpret information.
Okay. So the more we learn,
Yeah.
the more elaborate our schemas become,
Right.
and the better equipped we are
Right.
to make sense of new experiences.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's not just about accumulating knowledge then.
Right. It's about organizing it
Right.
in a way that makes it meaningful,
Okay.
useful,
So it's about recognizing that knowledge is
interconnected.
interconnected.
We're building those connections,
Yeah.
strengthens our understanding,
Okay.
and allows us to apply what we've learned
Right.
in new and creative ways.
Wow.
It's like having a well-organized toolbox where you can easily find, the right tool for the job.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's like having this mental toolbox,
Yeah.
constantly adding new tools,
Mm-hmm.
learning, how to use them effectively.
Right.
And those tools are like pieces of knowledge.
Yeah.
They help us, navigate those maps of understanding we talked about earlier.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating here is how the source, emphasizes the role of curiosity in this whole process.
Okay.
It's not just about passively receiving information.
Right.
It's about actively, seeking it out,
Yeah.
being driven by that desire to understand, to explore.
And the more we learn,
Yeah.
the more we realize how much more
Exactly.
there is to discover. Right.
It's like each
Right.
answer unlocks a new set of questions,
Right.
leading us down even more, intriguing paths.
It's like it never ends.
It really is a wonderfully humbling experience. Realizing that knowledge is essentially infinite,
Right.
and our understanding is constantly evolving.
Okay. So let's try to distill some key takeaways from this, deep dive
Mm-hmm.
into how we learn.
Yeah.
We started by talking about active learning. This idea that understanding isn't passive absorption.
Right. It's not just soaking it all in,
Right.
like a sponge.
But an active process of like building connections,
yeah,
weaving those new insights into our existing knowledge.
weaving it all together.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, really.
We also discussed the The importance of building
Yeah.
that diverse base of knowledge,
Yeah.
that solid foundation
Yeah, like we talked about.
that allows us to grasp, those more complex concepts
Yeah.
and recognize valuable insights
Mhm.
when we encounter them.
Recognize those gems
Yeah.
when we see them.
And then we explored
Yeah.
how understanding is similar to using a map, a representation.
It is like a guide
Right.
that guides us through these complex terrains.
But also requires us to,
Yeah.
use deduction,
Hmm.
guesswork,
Yeah.
a willingness to explore
This uncharted area.
those uncharted areas.
Absolutely.
And perhaps the most important takeaway here
Yeah, I think so.
is that learning
Yeah.
is an ongoing journey
It is always
fueled by, our own curiosity
Mhm.
and the realization that
that there's always more to learn.
more connections to make,
Absolutely.
more treasures to discover.
It's an adventure.
It is. So it's like we've got this mental toolbox, right?
Yeah, like a mental workshop.
We're constantly adding new tools, figuring out how to use them.
And those tools, those pieces of knowledge,
Yeah.
they help us navigate those maps we were talking about.
Right. The maps of understanding.
Exactly. And what's so cool is how the source emphasizes curiosity. It's not just about like passively taking in information.
It's about going out and looking for it.
Yes. Being driven by that desire to understand, to explore.
And the more we learn, well, the more we realize how much more there is out there.
It's like every answer just leads to more questions.
Leading us down those rabbit holes you were talking about.
It's true. And it's honestly pretty amazing.
It is.
To realize that knowledge is, well, it's pretty much infinite.
Yeah.
And that our understanding is always, changing.
Always evolving. So, okay, let's try to sum up some key takeaways then from this, from this deep dive.
Okay.
We started off talking about active learning.
Right?
The idea that understanding isn't just, soaking everything up.
Right. Not just absorbing it.
But it's about, it's an active process
Yes.
of building those connections and adding new insights to what we already know.
Building on what we have. And we talked about building that solid foundation of knowledge.
Right, that base.
Which lets us grasp those more complex ideas and recognize when we found something really valuable.
And then we got into how understanding is kind of like using a map.
Right.
This representation that guides us, but it also needs us to, to think things through.
To use what we know, make some guesses, to explore.
And I think, the biggest takeaway here
I think you're right.
is that learning, well, it never really stops.
It's a journey, an ongoing journey, driven by our curiosity and by knowing that there's always something new to learn.
New connections to make, new treasures to find. Well, as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with a question. How can you use what we've talked about today to become a better learner?
Yeah, how can you become a more curious explorer of knowledge?
What are you excited to learn about?
Mm-hmm.
What new tools will you add to your toolbox?
The journey of learning is an adventure. Embrace the unknown, stay curious, and enjoy the discoveries.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're taking a deep dive into something we all do every day, learning.
Yeah, how we learn.
We've got this cool conversation, between a person and an AI. And they actually compare understanding information to a treasure hunt.
It's really fascinating. It's not just about, finding the treasure.
Right.
It's about, well, how we make sense of it all.
Yeah.
Like building a map from all the clues we find.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we'll be, unpacking today.
Uh-huh.
How our brains, take those little bits of information and actually turn them into, real knowledge.
Right, right.
Now, the AI, starts off with some pretty basic advice.
Yeah.
We'll take notes, actively engage things.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
But what's interesting is how the person